We are recording, Mitch. Watch your language.
What's your fucking language?
You're so sweary in the morning.
Is it morning time? Fuck. Okay.
It is. Well, we're doing this in the morning because we have failed miserably to record a couple of episodes over the last month because, well, hey, let's face it, in the whiskey industry, right, November is pretty much the busiest month of the year. There's tons of events going on, there's whiskey shows going on, you've been running about distilleries and shit, so we have just not managed to get time, have we, really, to sit down and just catch up?
Nah, mate, we haven't, and I think I've been even worse than you because you've been holding the fort with a lot of the episodes recently. I heard there was actually a petition to get me back on the podcast.
Yeah, we've had a few complaints actually. Yeah, we have. We need more Mitch in our life, so it's yeah. I'm very aware of this. I'm very aware of this, and I'm much less comfortable doing it on my own because I'm always like, right, who's going to come in and say something stupid? Yeah. We need that guy.
Was that idiot Mitch?
Yeah.
That's been good though, man. I mean, I'm kind of gutted that we haven't been on the air for the last 3 weeks. It's been our longest spell. We've managed to do an episode every week this year up until now. So apologies to those people that have been waiting patiently on Spotify for this to drop over the last 3 weeks.
I had a few people actually saying, "Is everything between you and Mitch all right?"
Yeah, we actually had a big fallout.
Yeah,
He wanted me to be the big spoon. I wanted to be the small spoon, and that's how that escalated. And
yeah, Mitch doesn't put the toilet seat down, and I just had enough. Mate, what's been going on? Like, give me a quick update as to what's been happening in the world of Mr. Mitch Beshard.
Oh, jeez, man. You know, for this episode, I knew you were going to ask me that, so I actually wrote it all down because there's been so much going on. I went on holiday. That was nice. Got some sun. Went to Tenerife.
Did. Any good whiskies in the bar in Tenerife?
To be honest with you, it wasn't all about whiskey. It was just about hanging with the family and just being by the pool and did some wing foiling, which is kind of cool. That's my new kind of go-to thing right now. So I actually took some lessons with these guys and did about 6 hours of it. Amazing, mate. So good.
That's it looks pretty painful when you fall off of one of those things.
Well, that's the thing. You got this. So for those that haven't seen wing foiling yet, imagine like a half size of a paddle board with this sort of hydrofoil underneath it. And then you have like a sail that you hold on to. So when you get powered up, you lift off the water around about a meter. But one of the things I didn't realize, mate, was when I was obviously I was falling off a lot, right? But when I was trying to get back on again, I was smashing my feet off the foil underneath. So I totally cut up all my feet. That was what the painful part of it was. Yeah. But I tell you what, aside from that, when you get that thing up and it just goes so fast and it's quiet, like you just don't get any noise. It's such an amazing feeling.
I saw a guy doing it. We were on a wee boat and sort of whizzed by a guy who was doing it out in Turkey in one of the bays near Fethiye, and it looked amazing. Like, it did look really, really cool. And this guy was well out as well. He was going fast. But I know what you mean. It's like that pace versus quietness. Like, it must be quite a nice moment when you're out there and up and flying away. But I'm sure when you hit a horrible wave or get hit sideways or however it is that you get taken off these things, I'm sure it's a pretty brutal fall because you must be going about 20 miles an hour, no?
Mate, you go fast, yeah. And it takes off as soon as you get that foil up. But anyway, that's not whiskey related, so let's not talk about that too much.
Yeah.
What I do after that? Oh yeah, I got COVID for the first time. That was fun. Jeez, that hit me hard. Kind of weird, man.
Can you still smell? Is your nose working?
I can still smell now, but I tell you what, I did lose my sense of smell when I got it, and that was bizarre. I remember pouring myself a Talisker, and I just couldn't smell anything from the Talisker.
That's weird. Talisker's a smelly whiskey. There's a lot of aroma in that whiskey. Yeah. And
I'm just like, this is so bizarre, man. So that hit me for a good, I don't know, 5 or 6 days. It was pretty horrible. Been doing like you said, I've been doing a lot of tours in Speyside. I've been hanging out there a lot, doing a lot of stuff with people, going to distilleries, drinking a lot of whiskey. And then I did a really cool trip that unfortunately you couldn't make with our Larkfire friends.
Yeah.
So we did Loch Lomond Distillery, which was just an absolute mindfuck. I mean, it's not open to the public, but if anyone gets a chance to go and see Loch Lomond, go and do it because it's just unbelievable what they're doing.
Yeah, it must have been quite cool because we obviously did the episode with Gary, the one that you missed. And it was amazing to hear more about it. I actually was at a Loch Lomond event recently. I'll come on to that a little bit later on. But yeah, it's an amazing distillery. Man, it must have been quite cool to see it in real life after having done the episode and then going after. It must have been decent. Yeah.
Yeah, Gary was really cool as well, taking us around. Yeah, so from there we went over to Campbelltown and then, actually went over to Isla first, stayed at Macri, went over to Jura, hung out with our boy Mark Bruce, who took us
How's
around.
he doing? Is he good?
He's good, man. Yeah, all good. Just hanging in there on Jura and doing his thing. So it was good. I think he's enjoying it now that it's opened back up again. They actually getting people in to visit. It's funny, man, because I've been to that distillery like 3 times now, and that's the first time I've been allowed in it. So
into the still house. It's a cool still house.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, the stills are beautiful. They're massive.
Stills.
Nice place. And
Yeah,
Mark's such a good guy. He's finishing up, isn't he, at the end of the year?
I don't know if that's public knowledge, is it? Can we say that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, he's going back to Oz, so he's got another job in Australia, mate.
Australia. Is he going to try and stay in whiskey, is he?
He's staying with the company, I believe.
Is he? Nice. Good lad.
Yeah. So and we saw a load of deer as well, which was kind of cool. First time I've seen like a load of deer on Jura. I know they're everywhere, but usually hiding from me. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. They hear you're coming, they bugger off for a day. Where did you see them? Because it's great when you go up to the top of the island to like the north end. There's billions of them, but in the I think in the winter time, because there's grass still down on like the rugby pitch and stuff like that in front of the hotel, they come right into the village. They just sort of potter about.
Well, I saw them there when I was camping last time there.
Yeah,
on that field.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just on the drive on the way out, mate. We just stopped and there was a whole herd of them. Big stag with big pointy horns.
Wolf horns? Horns?
No. What's the word I'm looking
Antlers.
For? Antlers, thank you.
Yeah.
Total mind fart as to what
I've been questioning myself there.
So yeah, went back to Isla after that. We did Bunnahabhain, and then we went down to Campbelltown, hung out at Glen Scotia.
Yeah, nice.
With our boy Ian.
He's a dude, eh?
Legend, absolute legend. Mm-hmm. And then we were going to go to Arran, but the weather came in and we couldn't get all the ferries got cancelled. So
do you know? Because I know you were in Arran earlier in the year, but I've still never been.
Yeah, we need to do that, mate.
We'll hit Mariella up. Maybe do it in the new year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mariella, we're coming for you.
Yeah, Mariella, definitely get that red carpet out.
Yeah, big time. But no, that was cool, mate. And my claim to fame, because I went straight up to Speyside after that, so I did all 5 whiskey making regions in 5 days.
That's nice, isn't that? That's a good idea.
Yeah. Put that on the CV.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, man.
So highlights of your Speyside distilleries, anything? I know you spent a bit of time probably back up at Glendronach and Glenfiddich and stuff like that, but did you go anywhere new for the first time?
No, I didn't, mate. I mean, we did a lot of cool activities. Did some shooting, like clay pigeon shooting and like for quad biking and stuff.
So the quad bikes were mega.
Yeah.
What's the story there? What do you do on those? Just cut about the woods and the trails?
Yeah, they just give you quad bikes and you just follow the main guy and then off you go. And it's kind of cool this time of year as well because it's so muddy and shit. And you come off like all wet, you know?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. And then you get in, get a dram, get a cozy drink, get a bowl of soup or something. You feel great, eh?
Yeah. That's what's been good, mate. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's been what I've been up to. What about yourself, man? What's been
out and about? Yeah, I haven't been out and about as much as you. Certainly not 5 regions in 5 days, but I've been at a couple of events recently. And you were talking about Loch Lomond. They released a 9-year-old distillery release, which they had made using Chardonnay yeast, which was so interesting. Michael Henry, he's their master distiller and blender. And we went to a tasting down in London, actually, at Bread Ahead, which is a bakery in Borough Market. And they just wanted to sort of showcase the similarities, of simple ingredients creating something brilliant. So bread is one of those that naturally, it tastes amazing. It's super simple, but, brilliant. And whiskey's the same. And we really focused in on that yeast element. So that Chardonnay yeast, that whiskey, it was a 9-year-old, but it had a beautiful kind of grapefruity zinginess to it. It was really, really different. And we tried it next to the 3 12-year-olds that they make, Inchmo and Inchmurrin, and Perfectly Balanced. And then we had a 30-year-old as well. So it was, incredible tasting. Brilliant. I absolutely loved it. And it's just one of those ones, going back to your point about that distillery and about the art of possible that within Loch Lomond, it's a really, really cool place. So yeah, I had a good time down there, man. It's decent.
Brilliant. And what else has been happening?
And then I was at another event on Friday, a very posh event actually, at Cameron House, which is recently refurbished. It looks amazing. They've done some brilliant work, and we did an Aston Martin Bowmore event. So the second release of their Masters selection has just come out, which is a 22-year-old delicious, more American oak than the previous one. So you get a lot of those like tropical fruit notes that Bowmore seems to have when it gets to kind of 18, 19, 20 and beyond, that they really start to ramp up over a certain age. So that was really nice. Actually, the tasting was held by a guy called David Miles. I don't know if you've met David before. He's worked for kind of Edrington UK for years. He's like their ambassador. He's done a lot of work on Bowmore, so it was good. He led the tasting. I just had to sit and eat and taste some stuff, which was
nice,
lovely.
dude.
Yeah, it was nice.
Did you get to drive the motor again?
No, I didn't actually. I didn't know the DBX wasn't there at that event. But Aston were doing their, so they've done a car which is like the level up from the DBX, like the 707. It's like a higher power, basically SUV. So they'd done a rally for 3 days, and this was like the last dinner of that rally. So I just joined them for the dinner at the end. So it was really good. And I'll tell you who was at the Bread Ahead event with Loch Lomond was the boys from the Angel Share, the journal, the whiskey journal.
Oh yeah.
Really good. Yeah, really nice. Nice to meet them in person. I don't know if you got the second edition.
I haven't yet, but
I haven't. Okay, I've got an extra one here. You can have mine. Mate,
so are you going to get that along with all the samples that you've been hoarding?
I do have a few samples for you, mate. There's been a few more arrived as well. I've got a Loch Lomond 54-year-old for you.
Hello.
Uh-huh. I also have a Fable blended malt and dry gate beer for you as well. Yeah. And amongst other things, we've got Coach Built samples. I think we've got a Loch Lee. And there was something else that was coming our way. Oh, the Ben Riach 16.
Well, I mean, the good news is, Daz, we are meeting up next week. So to give everyone a wee sneak peek, you might remember that this time last year we did a little episode with Charlie McLean, our good friend. So we're going to go around to his flat again, and we're going to get some whiskeys together, and maybe not do as many cocktails as we did last year.
We got through. I think we drank quite a lot of Blood and Sands last year, and might have got a bit squiffy.
All right, so we're going to do that next week. So yeah, bring those samples along then.
Yeah, nice. Maybe I will.
But you probably won't.
I will. I might forget. Right, Mitch, we've blethered a long time so far. What are we doing today? What's the crack?
Well, I mean, today is like no agenda, really. So sorry for anyone who's listening who wanted to get some really insightful hints and tips on whiskey or insider reviews like we normally do, but we're just blabbing today, mate. There's not really anything. I think we can kind of look at the news. There's been a lot going on. We haven't really touched on that for a while. Yeah. So I mean, I'll kick off with some of the news, mate.
Yeah, let's go for it. Right, blast away. What's what you got in the news?
First thing I want to talk about is this Macallan video that we had a little chat about, which I thought was amazing. I mean, for me, it was like a full-on production. They got some big names in there, some big actors, which I'm blanking on their names right now. But really cool to see how that story was brought to life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a cheesy way that they did it at all,
No, definitely not. It's a cool story. I mean, to be running a distillery back in the 20s, amazing point in history as well, interwar years and all of that. And yeah, Nettie, who was running the Macallan back then, it's great to sort of shine a light on that legacy, on that really important piece of Macallan story as well. And I think linking it back as well to those whiskies, the 1926 Macallans are, the most desirable single malt whiskies in the world. You've got the Peter Blake edition, and you've got the Adami edition as well, that sit within the fine and rare collection. So it's amazing, and it links it right the way back to that point. And she would have distilled those whiskies, which is really special. No, it was cool. It was an interesting thing. I mean, they've been putting out a lot of stuff recently. They've been busy.
They have been. Yeah. I mean, I was going to mention that I love everything that they're doing right now. If I was being hypercritical, I'd be like, all right, there's a lot of releases from Macallan.
But it's quite hard to keep up because every couple of weeks is something different, isn't there? Because you had the Harmony collection, which I loved. We talked a little bit about this, I think, previously, but this combination of coffee, taking influence and inspiration from coffee makers and roasters, and how do you apply that into whiskey making, into cask selection and things. And I love that as an analogy and as a as a source of inspiration, and it was a really good follow on, I think, from the chocolate stuff they'd done previously. So yeah, I mean, I loved that. What was you then had the 1977, which came out in the Red Collection. I love the Red Collection. I love just the visual world they've created. It's almost kind of like Gangs of New York in a way. You know, you've got these really quite characterful individuals who are painted and illustrated and things. And it reminds me of the stuff that the guys have done on Fable as well. You know, it's that really sort of visual world they've created, and you kind of want to be there. You're almost like, oh, if that was real, I'd love to be in that, you know, and I'd love to try the whiskies. I'm sure the stuff 77-year-old is going to be really, really special.
Well, you know some people, right?
What's that?
You know some people. Get it sorted.
I know some people. Yeah. Well, I know that. What's going on? Carry on. I was just going to say, I know Christine Campbell does listen to the episodes when she's driving up and down, back and forwards to McAllen. So, but we've yet to receive any samples from Christine. So just a heads up, Christine, we're still waiting. If you feel the need to send a 10 mil or a 25 mil sample of 77 or any of these other special projects that you're working on, Mitch and I are, we're all ears. We're ready for it.
Send it to Daz, so I will never see it.
Yeah, send it to me, and I'll let you know how it tasted, Mitch.
But I mean, the last thing I wanted to talk about with Macallan is the whole Bond thing that they brought out as well. You know, that was another release. I think it was 6 bottles. Yeah. And what I like about that is they've tied that in really nicely to the distillery. So when you go to the visitor
center, little cartoon, the little animation.
Yeah,
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. And you walk down from the bar and like they've got all the James Bond movies and the years like listed as you go down, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I must get back up to distillery because that's it. I just think sometimes when the news comes out from Macallan, it's so quickly on to the next thing. I don't really fully understand what that was all about. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what we need to do now that I'm going to be moving up there, which is going to be happening in 2 weeks from while we record this. I'm going to be moving into Copperbrook and then I'll be full time up in Speyside. When I do that, you need to come up and we'll do lunch at Macallan. That's amazing.
Cool. Okay.
It's like a 2.5 hour marathon of, I think, 7 courses that you go through.
Yeah.
But our boy, Tom Jolly, does a great job up there putting all that together.
Yeah, he's a great lad. Yeah, definitely. Okay, we'll hit him up.
All right, so moving off from Macallan, we've got a new distillery opening up in Shetland. Yes, the Lerwick Distillery.
Yes.
Which is our good friend Caroline McIntyre is opening all that up. And Ian Miller's involved in that now as well.
Is he?
Yes, as their distillery consultant, which is kind of cool.
He knows a distillery, doesn't he?
He does a little bit, yeah. Caroline actually came to me and said, do you know anyone that could pull all this together? And Ian instantly sprung to mind because he's retired now from William Grant and Sons. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to give you some figures on this, they're going to plow in around about 3.5 million. They've already acquired the site up there. They've got planning permission. They've designed the distillery. They've started construction on the first of the 5 planned bonded warehouses. And it's going to create 15 local jobs. So they've already had applications for some of the positions there, which is amazing. And Shetland, as you know, 14 hours to get there on the ferry. You want to fly there, very, very remote part of Scotland. So for something like this to happen, and Caroline being involved in it, being from Shetland originally as well, is a really nice tie-in, and all kind of local guys that are doing this. So great to see this happening and gives us an excuse to go up there, mate.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of the distilleries that we've been talking about recently that have been kind of new, I've sat in the lowland region. So it's really nice to see some of the islands still popping up, with some of these really interesting stories, bringing great people in and like you say, creating jobs in these local communities. Because on the islands, it's so important, right?
Right.
You've got, depopulation, a lot of young ones leaving for uni and things like that. Is there something to pull them back in, once they've gone away and done their thing, and then bring up their own children? Because I'd imagine growing up in a place like that is going to be really, really special. It would be pretty similar, mate, on somewhere like Rassay as well, which is another new distillery that's going to be popping up. So they've got £12 million secured to build that distillery in Rassay, which is incredible. And I know that there was news and plans released probably about 1.5 years ago on Rassay, but that looks like all the funding is now secured. So going to see some acceleration on that project soon. Not Rassay, sorry, Barra. Did I say Rassay? I did say Rassay, didn't I?
You did say Rassay.
I was talking about Rassay. Rassay already has a distillery and they're very good at it.
I was like, oh, cool. Daz has got some new news that I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
about.
no,
That's
no, no,
interesting.
no, no, not Rasi, Barra. Barra's cool, obviously, because it's famous with the airplane that lands on the beach. It lands on the sand, doesn't it, as it goes in? So everybody wants to do that flight, but now they've got another excuse to go there and spend some time and enjoy the beautiful island that is Barra. So
Who's
distillery
behind that?
coming. What's that?
Who's behind the Barra distillery?
Who is behind the Barra distillery? Good question. So a guy called Michael Morrison's the managing director. He's going to be the head distiller as well. And so I'm not sure exactly who, like, who's behind it sort of financially and things. That it might be Michael himself, or he's maybe got, some partners within that. But yeah, Michael Morrison's the one leading it.
It's interesting, all these island distilleries that are popping up, right? You would have thought if you're going to build a distillery, do it on the mainland. Like logistically, it's going to be so much easier to build and to run. But it seems like more island distilleries are popping up.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's kind of counterintuitive. It's harder to do things there. It's not as easy to get things there, and all of those things. But that's it's not a reason not to do it.
Yeah.
You've got to think of all the other benefits in terms of that social economic element, that responsibility to community. And there may be things that there may be things that locally that help support the distillery. There might be farms there's going to be logistics and all that kind of stuff. So there's that wider network of businesses that a distillery can support. And on the islands it might have a bigger impact than it would anywhere else, right?
Yeah, no, totally. Well,
Cool.
our friends over at Ian McLeod have been busy.
Mate, they have, they've been, I can't quite keep up with them at the moment. They've got
right?
Rosebank, they've got plans for an Islay distillery. And one of the big issues, and I know this because of the involvement with the guys over at Fable, is warehousing in Scotland. Everyone wants casks, but actually there's not that many places to put them. Warehousing is a real issue. So Ian McLeod are investing £40 million into a warehousing facility, which is a huge investment.
20 acres, I believe. That's a
Yeah,
big old site.
yeah, mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
going to
I've
be near
not.
Stirling, right?
Yeah, near Stirling. So it'll be in the central belt in the middle of
Yeah.
Scotland somewhere, making it nice and easy for, logistics. They've obviously got Tamdhu and Glengoyne and things. So there's that, in terms of where it is in the world, it makes sense. I was actually with a guy called Stuart Forsyth, who's Stuart, forget his surname, Healy. It's Healy, isn't it? At Inverhouse, who's their master blender. And he was saying the same, because where they are is just next to Airdrie. They've got a big facility there and they're building new warehouses themselves. And he was saying it's a real sort of bottleneck at the moment, is warehousing capacity. And we were chatting about the Ian McLeod piece, and he was like, it makes absolute sense, and he's surprised they hadn't done it earlier, because of Tamdhu will be bursting at the seams now, with what they've got up there. You speak to Sandy up there, don't you? I think a fair bit. Yeah.
Big Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously Gordon still kicking around, running about. I see him all the time. He's traveling like a madman at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I was with him in Amsterdam, wasn't I? Well, just outside Amsterdam, not so long ago. We did a taste, and it was really good to see him. But after that, he was like straight out to the States. And I don't think his feet were hitting the ground pretty much until this week. He said that's him until like the middle of December, which is full of that's the life as a global ambassador, as you know. You've got to be out there. It's kind of like an aeroplane. You're useless if you're on the ground, right?
Yeah. So he was straight out to the States, and you're straight to the red light district.
Actually, I was very well behaved when I was over there. I didn't even go out in the evening. Back to the hotel, and it was early flights out. Back to London. So
you've changed, mate. See, people, this is why we've fallen out.
That's it. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Fun Daz is gone.
Daz's terrible life decisions. So yeah, that's what's happening at Ian McLeod. Big investment in warehousing. Nice.
Very cool. And then I suppose the last sad bit of news is about Dominic Roscoe.
Well, there's a couple of bits of sad news, actually. Dominic, I'd crossed paths with Dominic a number of times over the years, more in my earlier career, I would say, probably about 15 years ago or something like that, when we were running around, and spent a little bit of time with him back then, and a very good whiskey writer. I suppose the reason, I guess, why I didn't see him as much over the last maybe 10 years is that, he was writing mostly about world whiskey, wasn't he? He wasn't writing as much about Scotch, so no need to talk to me, I suppose. But really, really sad. I mean, I've always followed his work and his views on things, and he always had that kind of honest, open approach, which ruffles feathers at times. And he was a character, that's for sure. But yeah, he passed away sadly just a couple of weeks ago. So
that as well.
yeah, a big
61, man.
loss.
61. Young,
Young
way too
guy.
young to go.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But mate, there was another one as well. I'd done some work with a gentleman called David Moore, who was one of the directors over at McLean and Bruce. So Charlie's involved with that, and Vicky Bruce, and they do a lot of quite similar to what you do, Mitch. They probably do it a lot better than you actually. Is bringing people into Scotland and showing them the regions and taking them to distilleries and really sort of getting them to fall in love with whiskey. And David was part of that business, and he'd done a lot within whiskey over the years because he'd worked over in Asia as a lawyer for Diageo back then, and lived over there for a number of years. And yeah, just a guy who I didn't spend a huge amount of time with, but I went for lunch a couple of times and met him, and we did have a lot of like conversations online and WhatsApps and things. And yeah, he passed away a couple of weeks ago as well. He was younger than Dominic, actually. I think he was only about 51 or 52. So another loss for whiskey. So yeah, a bit of a shite end to the year in that respect.
It was a bit. I mean, bit sad for the whiskey industry with regards to losing those two. But anyway, I mean, that's not to wrap up the news on a bit of a downer there, but that's the kind of news of the last few weeks and what's been going on.
Absolutely. Right. So what's coming up next for the Whiskey Podcast?
Well, we chatted about it already. We're going to go around to Big Chaz's house, drink a load of whiskey, and the theme of that is going to be. What's the theme of that going to be?
It's usually top threes. So we normally do a top three whiskies for Christmas, top three cocktails for Christmas. What do you buy your father-in-law, or what do you buy your mother-in-law? All that kind of stuff. So
that's right. I remember now. And I think, well, the other thing we discussed, we're going to do like a kind of review of the year, right, as well, and talk about what's been going on.
And we pick our favorite episodes. We pick some of the highlights of our favorite whiskies. So last year, I think you and I had both come to the conclusion that Glen Scotia was our distillery of the year last year. I think is kind of where we landed. Le Jaig was right up there, I think, as well. So we have to do all of that. We've got to go back through and remember what we tasted and what stood out. And there'll be patterns, right? I mean, I think there's certain distilleries we've been introduced to. Actually, the live podcast was an interesting one this year with Dave Broom, because I don't think I had tried the new Ardnamurchan, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. And there's just little things like that as I think back just as to what popped out, little moments like that, thinking, actually, that was great. I really liked that. And I've tried a couple since, and they've both been, three of them have actually been absolutely brilliant, the Ardnamurchans that I've tried. So, and Charlie's usually pretty good at just digging out a few gems as well, isn't he? He put in front of us the Adelphi blend last year, which was sensational. Really, really good whiskey.
Which he was drinking like water.
Well, it didn't last very long. No, it has to be said. No, we're on lunch, aren't we?
We are. We need to get lunch. So yeah, looking forward to that, mate. That's gonna be this time next week. So we need to get our finger out and start thinking about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think that's going to be our final episode of the year. We're going to call it for the year at on that date, and get back with you guys sort of mid-January is the plan, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think what we'll probably do is put our episode after that out on the 22nd of January. So we'll have a few weeks at the start of the year to reset, recharge. You'll be moving house and settling in up in Speyside and all of that. So yeah, it gives us a wee bit of time to have a think about what we're going to do for the rest of the year. And if anyone has any good thoughts and opinions and input, we are all ears for themes, because we've covered a lot this year. We've had a lot of distillery, whiskey makers and managers. We've had marketing people on. We've had ambassadors on, people who run events and stuff. We've had people really from all corners of the industry on. It's been great. So we just want to hear a little bit more actually from you guys as to what you've enjoyed. I mean, I think what was really nice is that quite a lot of people actually shared, Mitch, you've probably seen it, was the top podcasts that people listen to. So Spotify does like a chart, so it's like a top 5. And there's a number of people that had Not Another Whiskey podcast in their top 5.
I know, that was amazing. I did see that come on the stories. That was pretty cool to see, actually.
Yeah.
So thank you to everyone for listening for the year. It's been amazing.
Absolutely.
It's finished yet. We've still got one more to do. But...
It's not finished yet. However, the episode we record next week is highly likely to be railroaded by our good friend Mr. McLean. So we can't promise that we're going to say everything we need to say in that session, because there might be a few sherries consumed at the start, middle, and end of that particular recording. Yeah,
it's kind of like our Christmas night out.
Yeah, it is actually. It's great. Yeah. All we need to do is press record. That's all we need to remember.
Yeah. And sometimes we forget to do that.
We have forgotten a few times, definitely. Mate, it's good to catch up. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. And yeah, we'll drop an episode next Sunday with Charlie Mack, and we'll enjoy a few drams between now and then.
Indeed. Good to catch up, brother. See you later.
All right, man. Safe one.
Bye.